Hi there. Welcome to the Facebook Live event from our Leadership Institute here at the West Virginia Autism Training Center at Marshall University. My name is Andrew Nelson. I'm the Director of Direct Services here, and we've had a great time so far on campus for our institute. And we're really glad that you're joining us tonight for this Facebook Live event. Special thanks to the Autism Society of West Virginia chapter for helping to sponsor this event. We greatly appreciate their support. We're going to introduce ourselves. Kind of the format for this evening is going to be about a half hour's worth of us talking and discussing some questions together. And then we will open it up to some questions from you out there in Facebook Live land. So without further ado, again, I'm Andrew, and we can all introduce ourselves.
And I am Steve George. I'm a fiction writer and an autism self-advocate. That's as far as I'm going to go. I'm not going to mention the other part.
Yeah. I feel I'll end up rambling a little bit too, but I'm Jackie Venus, and I'm an artist, blogger, a little bit of everything, and I guess that's about it.
All right. My name is Colin Michael Leonard. I live all the way in Milford, Ohio, which is right by Cincinnati. And this is, in case you didn't know, this is at Marshall University, and that's a 3-hour drive. And I am majoring in special education. I'm hoping to become a special ed teacher, and I have a minor in history. And as a hobby, I'm a digital artist and an animator. All right, to you.
Thank you, Colin.
You're welcome.
I'm Brandon Stump. I am autistic. I was laughing a minute ago at a laugh track I heard playing.
You're welcome.
I have a lot of things I've done, but I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do. I'm an attorney, used to be a civil rights practicing attorney in the state of Michigan. Now I live in Pennsylvania, where I am a professor at Duquesne University at the law school there. And other than that, I have 2 dogs, a wife, and an old house, and lots of things I have to do, like flowers. I really like flowers.
Nice. Cool.
And Hillary Clinton.
And Hillary Clinton.
And Superman.
And Superman.
Those are my special interests right now.
Nice. Anybody else have a special interest they want to share? I'm into fishing and fish bones, ichthyology. Yeah, you, right?
Medieval British
Cats are
history.
Medieval British history.
Cats are always my special interest in psychology, and then geekdom. A lot of the geekdom, like Supergirl.
Nice.
The Flash is awesome. Can talk about it all day.
Yeah. Any special interest, Colin?
Oh, I'm a cat person, and I have 2 black cats at home named Lucky and Lexi, and I have a dog which is King Charles Spaniel Cavapoo, and we named him Teddy because he looks like a teddy bear. And Lucky is my cat, and I'm sure she's missing me right now because she likes to love all over me when I'm there.
I know my cats are missing.
All right,
me, so.
to you, Brandon.
That back to me?
Superman.
Superman, Superbrand, hashtag. So, I guess we're going to go to the first question.
Yeah. So we've been having discussion, and the last 2 days we've been hanging out together, talking through a lot of different topics, life interests. And one of the first questions we want to discuss is, how has your experience differed from kind of the stereotypical individual with ASD that a lot of people have in their head as the archetype of what ASD is? How has your experiences differed?
Definitely for me, I'm not your stereotypical male that's on the spectrum, and so it was hard for me to get a diagnosis. I suspected since 2011, and then tried telling people and reaching out, and everybody told me that there was no way I was on the spectrum. Well, not everybody, but a majority of people told me there was no way I was on the spectrum because I didn't fit the typical role.
Mm-hmm.
And it took through a lot of digging and research, and then reaching out and finally getting it confirmed. And then it was just the aha moments. And still, even now, like people look at me and they say, well, you don't look like you're on the spectrum.
Mhm.
And it's like, what
Same
am I
here.
supposed to look like? Like, what's that supposed to be? And I've always been very verbal. So like, you know, even though communication has been hard for me, there were always words there. They just were word salads of just jumbled mess. And
Can I say
Oh,
something about
yeah,
that? No, I
totally.
think so. All the people in internet world, I think what Jackie's pointing out is something that I think that most people don't really fully, especially people who aren't on the spectrum themselves. They know about nonverbal and what they would call nonverbal and verbal autistics. But what
Mhm.
people fail to realize is there's a difference between verbal skills and communication skills. Those are different concepts. And the
Yeah.
ability to communicate one thing for yourself is not the same as being reciprocal communication. So you can be highly verbal, highly articulate, highly skilled at being able to verbalize your thoughts to somebody else. Not that that means that other people are inarticulate or incapable of equal types of thought or communication if they're on the nonverbal end of the spectrum. But that is not the same as being able to effectively communicate with other people.
Well,
Yeah.
especially with me being not diagnosed and people telling me that my reality was wrong and I couldn't, like, how do you keep communicating that when you keep telling people, I'm feeling these things, I'm sensing these things, and even, going into the medical professional, like going to the doctor,
Mhm.
telling doctors, these things are wrong with me, and them telling me I need to quit reading the side effects of medicines. And I'm like, no, 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 listen to me. And they keep telling me the words coming out of my mouth are wrong. So I'm trying to find the other words and just, so yeah, like
Yeah.
communications. Just,
Yeah, and there will always be, as a matter of fact, part of the criteria, there will always be some kind of communication problem, even if you're very verbal and you are early like I was. I mean, I was speaking way before I was supposed to, but I always have a problem with communication. Like I was saying earlier today, that I don't always realize that the words that are in my head are the same ones that are coming out of my mouth.
I
I'll
agree.
visualize what I'm saying, but it doesn't feel like I'm saying the right thing. I also have problems with nonverbal communication, which is a problem for a lot of us, in that my gestures or my facial expressions don't match what I'm thinking or feeling at that moment. So I'm sending mixed messages and don't realize it. Somebody thinks I'm being sarcastic when I'm being earnest, etc.
yeah, like we had talked earlier, like when I work on art, people think
Mhm.
I'm mad at them. I'm like, no, I'm just really into my art right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
But yeah,
I'm the
so,
same way too.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So how anybody else?
I think I wanted to just say, because I do think this is, because I feel like I say this all the time, and and no matter where I go, it's a bad icebreaker at a party, but it's the one I use, which is normally me saying, "Did you know that a person can begin speaking extremely early, and that is a sign of a person being on the autism spectrum?" Because there's so much information out there about not speaking, and it's not that it doesn't matter. But we have to think about the fact that, number one, it's a spectrum. So if A is true, Z is true, is also true. And that no one wants to recognize that. So that's number one. So if a person is nonverbal, but past the point that there would be typical or normative development, that's a sign. Just as if you begin speaking before a brain should naturally speak, like give you the ability for speech. So like when Stephen says that, what happens is it's hard for people to recognize disability without them viewing it through a deficit model.
Mhm.
But you have to realize it is a communicative and a processing and social disability.
Mhm.
And so it's not just what you think it is. I mean, I began speaking at 6 months old. I always jokingly say that is a fetus that can talk, right? Like that is, I look at kids now and it's like it'll be like a 6-month-old. My neighbors had a kid. And I remember looking at him at 6 months and thinking how terrifying it would be if he began speaking.
Yeah.
He's like sitting over there, like just like staring at the wall, and like goo goo ha, whatever they do. I don't have kids. But I think that's really, really important. So if anybody watches this or is listening, spectrums have more than one side and more than
Yeah.
one point. That's the point of a spectrum. So if you only focus on one part and act like that's the only part that exists, you're doing a disservice to a lot of people that need help. And I don't mean help in the sense that there's something wrong with them, but help in the sense that they need to be validated for who they are,
That they're
rather
not
than having to
crazy,
fight it.
their existence is wrong. Tying into that though, I want to add in to not being the stereotypical. I did great in school and I didn't really have a whole lot of challenges and everything because I learned how to fake it. I suck at math, horrible at math, but I was able to take calculus my junior year of high school when that was normally for seniors in high school. But I faked it, and it wasn't that I cheated on any test or anything. I have no clue how I was able to do it now, but I was able to just fake and mimic things and to fit in so that nobody would notice that I was struggling so bad. Like I don't remember comprehending how to read a hand clock until maybe my senior year of high school. Like I had to fake things because I didn't understand when people were saying a quarter till, or like I'm like thinking, visualizing an actual quarter in my
And you have to tell time
Yeah.
like digital. People have to tell me it's like 3:42 because I did. It's almost quarter of. I don't even know what
like
a quarter of something
I'm thinking
is.
of a quarter in my hand. Like
Take those
here's a
prepositions out your
quarter.
mouth
Yeah.
and stop with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why are you telling me that it's a quarter till to like, wait, that doesn't, that makes no sense. So anyway, like I've always been able to fake things and mimic, and then even faking
Right.
socialization and stuff. Like I would leave situations going, wow, like I have no clue, but people didn't notice it because I was able to pretend in all of those situations. So I'm not your stereotypical, or at least I don't think I was the stereotypical. But
Andrew, can I say one more thing about that?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I want. So you're right now, for those of you who have the pleasure of witnessing this, there are 4 autistic people in a room, and not one, I don't believe, not that from meeting everyone over the past couple of days, and the people I've already known, I don't think there are any math and science oriented autistic people here. Am I right?
No.
Colin, are you a math person? Do you like math?
Yes.
Would you call it your? So Colin wants to be. You mentioned a special education teacher.
Yeah.
What do you think? Like, is it easier for you to do science and math, or are you better at English and reading comprehension and history?
Definitely math and science.
Okay, so here we go. We have 4 autism. Here we go with numbers. Woo!
Yeah.
We have 3, 4, 1. Oh God, we have 4 people in this room who are autistic. Only one of us likes math and science over verbal issues and verbal skills.
Right.
So
Okay?
please
And there's
stop the
nothing wrong with
stereotype.
But
Yeah.
I still like reading and social studies anyway.
Yeah.
Even though I may have some difficulties with it. Like,
Mhm.
I'll admit, I do have some problems reading. Like, especially to this day, I still struggle with inferencing. Like, in inferencing, you have to read between the lines. And on the praxis test, which is the standardized test, I had to take a few attempts on that just because I had a hard time reading between the lines.
Sure.
So I needed to do like the practice test in order to finally comprehend on the strategies on how to do that.
Yeah.
And I was successful. I was able to pass.
Nice.
Woo! Go Colin.
Yeah.
The good thing about this that I want to point out is that Colin's talking to you about like a deficit. Well, I went back to school. I wasn't satisfied with my JD, so I went and got an MFA in creative writing. So I'm a creative writer occasionally, but the point is, Colin's talking about a problem with inferences and reading, right?
Yes.
Colin, I swear to you, if I'm watching a program or watching a piece of art or reading a book, I will have to read it several times and talk to my wife because I can't get it.
Mhm.
I'll be like, why did that happen? I didn't see that coming. And she'll be like, there is no way. I went to see, have you seen the movie Silver Linings Playbook?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know that movie was about mental illness. I thought, I was like,
I'm the same way.
I couldn't believe they locked him up. I was like, why would they put Bradley Cooper?
Yeah.
I would, yeah,
And I gotta understand. Like, it was like, what is he doing that's wrong?
yeah, I lose plot things like that, but I also can't read fiction, and people don't understand that because I was an English major. That's what my degree is in. But as far as faking it, yeah, I did the same. Thank God for Cliff Notes because I cannot sit and read a whole novel in like a week like you have to do for classes. I get characters screwed up. As, where did this person come from? Where are we now?
Yep.
As far as places, I can't see those. I can't translate words on a page to pictures in my head.
Do you use images that are already in your head, like of things that you've witnessed that might be similar that you can like pastiche together? Because that's what I do.
If I'm forced to read fiction, and the last time it's been a long time since I've read a book. If I imagine so and so as my mother, then I can do it. Yeah. If I have to follow the description of the character in the book, forget it. They're like just blank faces.
Yeah,
There's
I think.
There.
And by the way, Stephen writes fiction. So in a fiction program that I was in, one of the things people used to say to us all the time was, "You can't write if you don't read often."
Yeah, and I don't read. I do not read anything.
It's really difficult. Like I have great difficulty. Everything that I read is interestingly, they're all set in various versions of Boy Scout camp that I went to, because I can normally make all of those pieces line up with enough plot points that I can concretely follow it. But I can never imagine faces. I have no idea what people's. To me, it's like like just a fleshy, like a mannequin, but with no distinct features, like no nose. It's just like a blobby head.
Do you guys do better with audiobooks?
Yes.
Because, like, especially if they're narrated really well.
Or they have multiple narrators with different voices for different characters.
I can't even do audiobooks because
See,
I start focusing on the individual words I'm hearing, and I have no idea what they're saying.
See, I can do.
If somebody's reading to me, if you read a book to me, I would be able to listen to it. But an audiobook where I can't actually see somebody doesn't work either.
Okay.
Yeah.
This brings up one of our next questions. First of all, we've got a bunch of people tuning in live. So hi to Daniel and Kara, and we got Patricia. Good to see you all. But this brings up something that we've talked a lot about in the last 2 days, and that is perception and how it's different for people on the spectrum and perception. Can we talk a little bit about how your perceptions differ from neurotypical individuals?
Okay, I'm going to start off with I think one of the most important points that we talked about all week. It's only been 2 days.
Define for the viewers in case some of them aren't aware of the neurotypical word.
Sure.
You did a good job.
I think this is how I understand it. That a person named Jim Sinclair in the 90s hosted something called Autreat, and either presented a speech or did a piece where he had written about life as an autistic and coined the phrase neurotypical at that time as a little bit of a jest, or probably a pretty big overt jest. But since then, it's come to mean people not on the spectrum of autism, or neurotypical.
Which is a play on atypical, right?
Yeah.
You're an atypical person because you're an outlier, autistic, auto, one.
Yeah.
It's like, let us have our moment, right? Like, you're like, so the thing about the perception issue is, I think it's really important because I think this is where ableism gets scary for people on the spectrum. And that is that because our emotional experiences, because of our perceptions, both emotional and things like that we visually see, can be augmented, for example, which we'll probably get to that. But it's important to know that we do live in your reality. Boo, we're here. But so we have a shared experience world. We feel differently as a result of living in that world with you.
And it ends up sometimes being traumatic because many times your reality is being invalidated or you're being stereotyped. You know, all people on the spectrum don't like to be touched. No, that's a total myth. Like, no, I love hugs. They're amazing. But don't touch me if you don't have permission. And if you're not one of my trusted people, but if you're one of my trusted people, please hug me all day long because I freaking love hugs.
I don't like people touching me unless it's a specific intimate situation in which I expect it. No, because otherwise it's like if you were to reach out and touch my arm right now, I would feel that for the whole rest of the night.
Yeah, and see, like,
I would just feel that pressure there.
And it's like
I
a
can't
dead
take
body.
it.
I feel like when people touch me, I feel like it's a dead body touched me. Like it's like the grossest foreign object.
see, if it's somebody that
Mhm.
I don't trust, or like getting hugs from people that I think that I feel like a connection to, and then I hug them, and then it's that cold, weird, detached thing, and you can tell they really don't like you, but they're just being polite to your face. I hate, that's when I hate hugs. But when it's from, again, a trusted person that I know actually really does care about me and isn't just pretending to like me, like a lot of people not on the spectrum tend to do. They hide behind the words that they say, and they don't realize how much their body language expresses more to them than they're willing to even admit about themselves. And so, like, that just it's such a disoriented feeling. So if I trust you and I really want that closeness to you, that connection of touching somebody, I crave it. And so, like, I think it's just one of the things that, like, I'd rather people just not stereotype and think that everybody on the spectrum doesn't like to be touched, even though it can, like, touching is a weird topic, and like you should definitely talk to people and ask what their boundaries, but that's the same for neurotypicals. Like,
Right.
See, this is what neurotypical people think is that, especially feeler type people, that if I touch you and touch your arm while I'm talking to you, that's communicating better, and that's telling you to listen and that I'm interested in you. And for me, I turn off at that point, because if you touch me, once again, I'm focused on that.
Yes.
And that's all I can do. It's like a bee just stung me. You can keep talking after that, but I'm not going to hear a thing you say.
Why did they touch me? Why did they touch me? Why is he touching me? Why is he
Yeah.
touching me? Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why is this happening?
and see, even liking the affection though, if somebody touches me like that, like I do, even trusted people, like if they go to touch me like that, I'm just like, okay, what, did we share something that I'm missing out on?
Yeah.
That, like, or should we hug next?
Can I
Is
say
it time
something?
for a hug?
Can we ask Colin?
Oh, yeah,
How do you feel? You like hugs?
Yes.
So there are two
And-
no huggers, two huggers.
Yes. And actually, you go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'm a toucher. Like, I'm a communicator, and I saw Steve about 2 years ago at his work, and I dropped something off for him, and I touched his shoulder. And you know, that whole night, I know my handprint stayed on his shoulder.
I felt that for the whole rest of the
But
night.
here's the thing. It is not hard for me as a neurotypical to say Steve doesn't like to be touched. Therefore, I'm not going to touch Steve. It is not a difficult adjustment.
And on the flip side of this, try to also realize that that's not the only. So, okay, I'll give you an example of something I did earlier today. That's what I do when I really like people. So, I didn't know Colin before I got here. I've really liked spending time with Colin. He's had great answers. It's been very authentic. It's also always nice to be in a space where people don't habitually lie, which is how most of our lives are spent when you're autistic and no one else around you is. You don't know how much you lie. You all do it all the time. Okay, maybe. I don't know. We could go there. No, just say what you want.
Yeah.
Like, don't play with us. But I told Colin, I said, I really like you, Colin.
No, I responded with, I like you too.
That to me is more meaningful than a hug. Because number one, I don't say that if I don't like you. I don't walk around the world being like, I really like you. No, I don't have time for that. And so it's like, to me, that's intimate. That's caring. That's affection.
You know what's actually affection to me too? Is somebody telling me the actual truth. Like, I've had so many people tell me, when would have been the right time to tell you, because the way you're reacting now is just so off the wall. Well, if you had been honest with me from the beginning when I said, like, there's been times when I'm trying to navigate this stuff and meeting new people, I'm like, well, I wanted to be your friend in the beginning. Do you want to be my friend? Oh, yeah, I'll be your friend. Yeah, I like you. But there was always that, you could tell there was something off about them. So that's another thing that, like, I want to point out. Like, people act like we're unaware. It's actually more like we're more aware. We know the subtle things that you guys put off in your body language, and then you tell us that you're not doing them, but we see them. And so,
Well, I can feel like in the category of myths is that autistic people can't lie. And I mean, once again, I write fiction. If I need to cover my ass, I can make up a story like that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can't do, and this is where it usually applies, is we're bad at the social lying.
Mhm.
You know,
Pretending
I
to like
can't,
somebody.
right? I can't bring myself to tell somebody they look nice when they don't.
Yeah, or that
And-
you
Yeah.
like somebody,
Yeah,
or
even
that
if
you're
it-
going to
even
laugh
if
at
it's
somebody's
expected,
joke.
yeah.
Laugh
Right.
at somebody's really bad joke and like,
Uh-huh.
We were having
what?
a baby shower for my neighbors, who I do like if you're watching. I'm not about to throw you in front of a bus, but when it comes, I will. Ben and Sarah are great. They were going to have their that was a baby I was talking about. When my wife was holding it, and I do this thing where I will show up to parties late, even if they're at my own house, because then I don't have to do social greetings. And then I can beeline past everybody and act like something's happened and I'm in a hurry, and I can like yell I have to go to the bathroom, even if I don't. And then I can re-enter on my own terms rather than being there and being swarmed. And I like people sometimes. I mean, not all the times, but most of the time I like being around people for limited experiences. But on that day, I could not go down there because there were people I did not want to be around, who had bothered me or offended me in the past, who I had met, who had done things that they probably don't even know that they have done. You're out there. I'm playing. That's a joke. We also have humor.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we can be
we can laugh. We have fun feelings too. But I couldn't lie, so I just stayed and locked myself in the upstairs bathroom until parts of it were over, because I just couldn't handle it. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to give people what I needed to in a way where I wouldn't come out looking like a bad guy when I wasn't. It was too much for me.
Yeah.
So I think like that's an example. Like, yes, I can lie. Like I can't lie when I in situations where it is like that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm terrible. I'm a horrible person to ask to come to a wedding reception, you know, because it's like not only can I not do the big social lying, but I mean, I have a really hard time avoiding just telling the truth to begin with. You know, it's like, and people think I don't understand, but it's like I honestly have no consciousness of, like, you know, when I see somebody, it's like, wow, you gained about 50 pounds since I saw you. saw you last. To me, I'm just making the observation. It doesn't occur to me that I might hurt somebody's feelings, you know.
And see, that wouldn't hurt my feelings, even though people try to claim that I'm oversensitive. I get oversensitive when you constantly lie to me. Like if you would notice I gain weight, then I'd go on a tangent of, yeah, things have been really bad here lately, and my blood pressure's been up, and I've been depressed. And then you would, like, I think me and you can navigate that conversation. You'd be like, well, yeah, like I noticed that something was wrong with you, and that would not offend me at all. But for my whole life, people have just constantly made out like I'm too sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sensitive when you're truthful to me.
And can I add something, Jackie? What I think you would do in life that would be different than the scenario that you were just talking about? You would have probably told Stephen the first time that you saw each other after not seeing each other in a while, hey, Stephen, how are you? I've gained a lot of weight. My life has been shitty.
Yeah.
Like that,
Yes.
And then Stephen would be like, yeah, it has been, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And then you would have
Oh my
gone
gosh.
on, right?
Yeah.
That's the difference. Like we say the
Yeah.
vulnerable things out loud.
Uh-huh.
We don't have good TMI boundaries.
No.
It's
No.
like, yeah,
No.
I'll come right up to somebody who I haven't seen like 20 years, and they're like, "Oh, I miss it," and I'm telling them what my digestive problems were.
Yes.
For 12 hours.
And then that's
Oh.
when they end up walking away in the middle of a conversation, and I'm just like standing there like, really? I was just like actually talking to you.
Sorry I didn't call you, but I was having some problems with my medication, and then I had some like gastrointestinal thing. It's fine. I think I got it from my dogs. I Googled it. You can do that now. It's complicated. You know, and they're like, oh.
Well, the other day I was having a conversation with two people, and I was trying to tell about the excitement of coming here. And in the middle of the conversation, somebody else came up to talk to them. They literally both walked away at the same time, me mid-sentence of blabbing about how great this was going to be, didn't even say goodbye to me. And I'm standing there like wanting to sob in tears, like, really? Like, I thought you were just acting like they were trying to say the words that they like me, but I don't think that they actually do. And you know, if anybody ends up seeing that, because there's a possibility, like, that I can tell when people actually don't like me, but they continue to say to my face that they like me.
And how many times have all of us been called out for doing social things just like that situation?
And
Like, if
then
I-
we're horrible
we're
for
horrible.
it. We are horrible for telling somebody that we like them, like, because
We're too
If-
aggressive. We told them too early. How can you really
Yeah.
feel that?
How
How
can
could
you
you
not
walk
be-
away in the middle of a
Yeah.
conversation? If I had a dime for every time that I have been at my house and there have been guests and I have repeatedly retreated to get away from everyone, but I'm excited. I want you to be in my house. If I didn't want you to be in my house, you wouldn't have been in it. Unless it was a baby shower for my wife was helping hold. And then I would have hid in the bathroom. But outside of that, I want you to be there. I'm gonna hide.
I'm the same way too. Like there are just times like how you said, like there are times where I just need my space where I don't want to be rude. It's just there are just times where I just need a break. I just need time alone. But I would also, but I don't want to always be alone. I just want, like, I want to communicate with people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if you felt more able to express yourself completely as who you are, if you're in those situations, do you not feel like more comfortable saying, okay, I just need to go and have my little bit of me time instead of just walking away? Like for me, when I'm around trusted people that understand me, if I need that space, if they're not trusted, I'll completely walk away from them.
I'm the same way too. That
Yeah,
I've
and if
done
I
that
trust
before.
them, then I'm able to go and say, listen, having too much of a sensory overload, things don't feel right, it's not you, it's me, I need to walk away. Like, I feel like I'm more able to do that when the people are trusted. Like, I don't do the rude things.
Do you have something on that?
Yeah, I think they pretty much covered it because I was gonna say, yeah, I like having people over at my house. I just don't want to have to interact with them. But now I have an excuse because, and that's why I like having Travis there, is because he's there, he can have guests over, and I can just enjoy the fact that there are other people in the house and I don't have to interact with them.
Sometimes I just want you to be around and then I want to laugh and tell you about Hillary Clinton. For real, I want to talk about Hillary for like 15 minutes and then like start getting really angry about something, then cite a few studies I've read. And then I want to go and help get things that I think people need at the party and like not come back for a while or have you follow me. Like my friend Megan comes over and she'll visit, but Megan, the great thing about Megan is she knows that nothing I am doing has anything to do with me not caring about her being there. I am very interested in her being there. I just want to keep moving. Like so like one of the things I'll do is like, I'll be like, at that moment that Megan comes over, all of a sudden it's like, I'm like, I must touch the laundry that I haven't folded yet. I have to go upstairs, get the laundry I haven't folded. I do some of that. I notice some books. I'm like, I should give some books away to Goodwill. Oh my God, look how many books are all out all over the place. I get a box. I mean, Megan just follows me station to station. And I have better conversations with her than when you sit down and you make me talk to you about crap I don't care about, and you're not even interested in me anyway. You don't really care what I have to say.
But do you find yourself more willing to listen to crap that you aren't interested in if somebody's willing to listen to your crap that they're normally not interested in? Because I want that broken down too, because I think people think that we're so rude and one-minded, but when we're getting the give and take that is supposed to happen through healthy communication, that we give that back. We want to hear the things that most of the time we wouldn't explore on our own because somebody else is also interested in us in turn. Because it's exhausting. Like it's exhausting to shut our mind off from the things that are interesting to us, to kind of process how it's interesting to other people, especially neurotypicals. For us to wrap our minds about it and to start grasping something new. So we are giving so much of ourselves to that conversation. We want to know that the other person is giving it back equally.
Let's shift attention a little bit to employment. First of all, hello to Daniel. Daniel says hello to all of us. Daniel.
Hey, Daniel.
Glad to have you.
Hi, Daniel.
Yeah. Daniel's a West Virginian. Good to see you. All right. What do you want to tell employers? What would you like for employers to know about hiring autistic?
Definitely everything that we've said here.
Yes. Step one, watch this video.
Yes. Don't assume people are stereotypes and assume that.
Or even if the people are stereotypes, that we're like, you can't just look at a class of people and put us into a category and think like, oh, they're good at reprogramming radios and pushing grocery carts in at a grocery store.
I agree.
It's demeaning.
Yeah.
And some people might love that.
And
But it's demeaning if you don't love
Right.
that.
one thing I want to add is, if there's one thing that employers should do is, at first they should be patient with them, because there might be some autistic employees that may be slow pace. It's like they may do the work slow at first. Like, I'll admit, I was that at one point. Like when I worked at like Lowe's, like I used to like get one cart at a time. Like I was the cart person, and then eventually I started getting like 8 at a time. I'm so. Oh, that's one thing. Like, I think it's important, like, that you be patient with them at first and give them some time, because some autistics need the first, like, when they're doing something new, especially with change, like, they need to try to get used to the environment first. Like, they need to know how things work. Oh, speaking of which, another thing I recommend is be sure you're being specific with your instructions and what they're doing, because some may not be clear. Like, they may not know, like, how to turn on, like, a machine, for example. They may not know how turn on machine works.
Can I interrupt you really quick to
Sure.
say that if you are giving instructions and somebody is having a hard time comprehending, somebody with me, I cannot understand the simple instructions sometimes, but if you give me the hard ones, I can understand them like that.
Yes.
Like, that was one of the giveaways that started, like, maybe there's something different about me. And that started, like, even before I realized that I could be on the spectrum. One of my exes, he was trying to teach me a software program, and he taught me from the dumber version that was like a typical version, and I couldn't understand it. And I started crying. I'm like, I'm so stupid. Why can I not understand this if you're saying it's so simple? So then he was like, I'm going to try something. So he gave me like the IT version and showed it to me, and I got it like that. He's like, how did you know that? And I've taught myself sewing that way. Like, I tried understanding the simple versions, and then I had to go and do it the more complicated way. But that's not always, like, don't assume that that's always true about me. So always give me the hard stuff. So I think interjecting with that with employers, they need to be doing this for everybody. Establish healthy boundaries in the beginning of communication and boundaries, and understanding who the other person is, not who you expect them to be.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's for neurotypicals and atypicals. Like, everybody needs to be doing that.
Yeah. Can I also give another example?
Oh yeah.
When it comes to working at a job, like, I tend to do better and know how things work when it's demonstrated to me in person. Like, when it comes to like the video training videos, like, I honestly have a hard time comprehending. Like, when the videos talk to me, all I can really hear and comprehend is just those the trumpet sounds that the adults make when they speak in Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah. But when it's demonstrated to me, I seem to understand the activity much better when it's demonstrated to me. And that's one thing that you should do, is demonstrations for your autistic employees.
Or ask what they need. Like,
because some people are more visual and some people are more hands-on.
Right.
And then some people are a combination of both. And so it's...
An important thing to remember, which this is probably a good thing for this Facebook Live, is that, and I've heard people actually tell me this, is it's like, okay, well, if people with ASD are so different, then what am I supposed to learn to understand how to accommodate them when it's a problem for this person and not for this person? Well, I'll tell you, it's the same thing as men who say, I don't understand women. Well, why don't you ask them what they want? You know, rather than throwing your arms up saying, oh, I don't understand this autistic person, why don't you ask what he needs? because when we're talking about instructions, I don't get verbal instructions if you tell me something. You
Yep.
can tell me how to do something 50 times and I will not get any of it.
Mhm.
It'll just be, I'll catch 1 or 2 words which will stick in my head and I'll hear that over and over and that's about it.
And then you'll
I
start
need
paying
to
attention
agree,
to
yeah.
the
I need to do it
facial,
myself.
like the
Or written step-by-step instructions I'm really
Yep.
good with, or
Mhm.
pictures.
And I want to. So this isn't about jobs, what I'm going to say, but it does relate to different learning styles. So I'm
Yes.
a teacher, and Colin is going to be a teacher.
Yes.
And I think like what happens when you're in a teaching role is you often have to learn, especially as I'm a writing professor. So one of the things I'm constantly having to do is figure out where the problems in papers are coming from. And they often come
Uh-huh.
from difference in instruction. Like, what does a person actually need, right?
Mhm.
So then I really enjoy it because then I get to figure out where it's starting, like what is happening and how it's happening.
Like you need to make a differentiated instruction.
Yes, for each person, like there might be categories of groups or people, but they're not all going to get it the same way, right?
Yeah.
So you're not going to hear when I'm telling you what to do. But if I demonstrate for you what to do, so sometimes I might do like an active editing exercise where I will edit, I'll put it on the screen for the students to watch as I edit and I will narrate as I go. Well, this sentence is doing this. Let's cut this out and see how it reads. And then I'll read it for auditory learners. Now, that being said, with my own learning style, and I didn't, this is my pre-diagnosis, I didn't know. But I remember I was going to study for the bar exam. And the bar exam is a Jesus take the wheel moment in your life because it's huge. You pay a lot of money, and I was breaking out in hives. So, for real, literally. So, for pre-exam. And the normal way that most people do it is through an auditory learning where you sit in a classroom and they play either videos or a person comes in and lectures out of a book. And I knew instantly it's not going to work. Like I will not retain anything. I will hear like 2 parts of it, and then the rest will be me being like, "Very cold in here, and that wall is orange. Why is that wall orange? Who would have
Oh,
painted
that's
it
a
orange?"
lovely poster over there.
Right. All I remember is how like the person in front of me smelled, or what the room looked like, or if someone's phone kept vibrating in their backpack. So I bought a set where it was self-taught. So like for me, I don't want you to tell me how to do anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to give me something in my hand to take away, and then don't talk to me for a while.
Mhm.
I don't need you to interfere. I don't want you around me. I don't want pressure. I don't want you correcting me. And then once I feel comfortable with it, then we can talk. But I need space,
Mhm.
and I need to be alone when I'm doing an activity to fully process it.
Yeah.
And so everyone here is different. Like
Mhm.
I would hope.
See, I want
Mhm.
expectations. Like I want those laid out a little bit more clearly. If it's a job that, like, if it was a creative job, then no, I'd want that freedom that you're talking about. But if it was just like some task of, I don't know, I can't even think of
Yeah.
anything right now because now I'm staring at the microphone
cool.
and my mind's thinking about the microphone.
That was beautiful. I think watching as time ticks down, I think we should go to the
Yeah.
next question. We have several younger viewers watching right now, and one of the things we wanted to talk about was advice we would give youth with ASD. What's some advice we would give to those out there that are younger?
Oh.
You don't have to fit in a mold.
Mhm.
Don't hesitate to communicate or ask for help. Well, trust me, you'll thank me later.
Mhm.
And
Especially the teacher or your boss or
Mhm.
even your parents. Even like if you need help, like doing laundry or heck dusting or
Mhm.
even putting Legos together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or even understanding what something means. Like
Oh,
something you
yeah.
notice that like other people seem to grasp what the
I
meaning is.
agree.
Like song lyrics.
Yeah.
I mean, I just recently found out that Eleanor Rigby is not at all what I thought it was about. I was a like total epiphany. And it's just because of how I interpreted the language.
Don't let looking or feeling stupid get in the way of asking questions or
Oh, yeah.
or follow. I mean, because that was a huge mistake with me growing up. Is like so many things. When I talk about verbal instructions going in one ear and out the other, I would end up faking it. Somebody would tell me something. It's like okay, because I don't want to ask follow-up questions, because there'll be a lot of them. And so I just screwed up. I failed. I don't know how to do this. And, don't do that. Don't be afraid. Because you're going to look at a lot worse if you don't understand and don't follow up for that than, if you just ask the questions.
And that's a big one. What Stephen just said about pulling away and failing. I mean, if I have a bad experience with something or one thing, I will just stop doing that thing. Like I felt inadequate after my thesis defense for my MFA. Also, I think my thesis was brilliant, but who am I? But
The toxic shame. that you're talking
I
about.
I could not write more than a paragraph at a time that was not connected for a year. And so what I would hope is work on, if you're a young person and you have the benefit of knowing that you are on the spectrum and you've been diagnosed, and I would encourage your parents or your caregivers or whoever is in your life to really reinforce and validate your experiences and help you with coping skills to overcome feelings of failure. So you don't get to be in your 30s. Not that it's not going to hurt still, because it's going to hurt and it's going to be disproportionate
the
for
hard
you.
way.
Right.
Yeah.
But learn that I'm sad that I let all of that go. I let something I cared about be ruined by people that I think aren't very talented and are bullies, and that dictated my life outcome for at least a year.
One thing that I had to learn with failure, though, is, and this is adding on to it, and then I'll say my own thing of what message I want to give. But I learned that I was constantly failing because I was trying to do things the way neurotypicals do things instead of the way my mind processes things, and I tried to fit in so much. And so here's where the waterworks might come, because I'm definitely an emotional person, but the message I would want to give is don't give up feeling like you're never going to fit in, because I'm 39, I'll be 40 in September. And if I had given up, then I wouldn't have met this group of wonderful people. And it's full of neurotypicals and atypicals, and we all get each other. And it's like holding up a mirror, a good way, of the good things about me that I've always been told were bad. And I've never felt like I fit in. I've never felt like I belonged anywhere.
Do you need a hug?
Notice, for those in
You're
Facebook land,
welcome.
notice Stephen and me. Stephen, we're like, it's not that we don't care. We're,
We all have each other's back.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it's
Yeah.
it's a good feeling. Like, even just the joking validation that we've been doing all day long, that I'm not crazy. And it's hard to feel that. And even if you have parents that think that they're being supportive, like of course, I was just diagnosed this past January, so I'm way into my adult years. But I can only imagine, like, some parents that think that they're doing the right things and still make somebody feel isolated because they just really don't get it. They think they're getting it, so that can make a child feel isolated and alone, and their peers reading things online thinking that they're understanding things that's misinformation. So it's going to make people feel more isolated. But just don't give up. You'll find people one day.
and also, it's okay, I think, to piggyback off of that. For one thing I would want kids to know, the biggest thing for me is I don't want to be normal. I don't want to be like other people.
I don't
I
want
used
to die
to.
normal.
No, right? I know, right?
I used to so bad want to fit in, but now I'm just like, this is really cool.
Right,
I'm
like,
with
I-
my people, and then the people that understand me, and I'm not weird, and this is actually really cool
Yeah.
to be this way.
In fact, I can relate. In fact, here's a tip. Be with the people who understand you. You don't have to be with the cool kids or be into all the
Hey,
trends.
wait a minute,
'cause,
we're the cool kids.
exactly.
Sorry.
Whatever your taste of cool is.
All right, I'm going to jump in.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, you're great. Megan Groves Donovan says your thesis was brilliant.
So Megan is the person I was referring to
Oh,
earlier
good
who follows me
friend.
around the house.
Yes.
Hashtag good friend.
Yes.
It's going to be viral.
Okay, so there's about a 10-second lag between what we're doing right now and your questions coming in. So I'm going to say it right now before this last discussion component is start to send your questions now so that we have some time to field them. While you're doing that, we're going to discuss one more point. And I'm going to reframe that a little bit to say, what should you not say to an autistic person, but moving forward, what does a better future look like? How can we make this better?
Okay, let me tell you what to do.
Yeah.
You all think it's rocket science you're trying to figure out. We're not that complicated. We tend to tell you exactly what we actually need. You have a history of perceiving us a certain way. I'm not talking just because of disability. I'm even talking interpersonally with us.
Mm-hmm.
So if like you didn't have a diagnosis or you approached somebody differently because of how you knew them. So you have to work, number one, work on yourself. If you're the other person, just like we're expected to. And I'm in therapy twice a week. I think if I have that expectation for myself and I do that for myself to help myself and other people, that like it's not that big for me to expect that you could try. I don't think that's a lot. You know, I'm willing to spend a lot of money that does not get covered by most of the like it matters enough to me to spend money on something that is not necessarily fun and is exhausting. So what you need to do is just be nice people.
But
just
as
be nice.
Andrew
Yeah.
pointed out earlier, it's really not that hard. Like, it's not that hard to
How do you not
be
offend other people you
considerate.
work with?
Like,
Yeah.
you know, oops, I forgot to turn my phone down. I just got a mess. But so the one thing that I kind of want to add on to that is stop assuming if you know one person with autism that you know one person, like you just know one person with autism, and stop saying like, you know, when I tried to like talk to other people that I thought that I was on the spectrum, or even now they're like, I bring up, yeah, I'm on the spectrum. Oh, well, my uncle was on the spectrum. And I'm just like, so what is that supposed to mean to me? Like, you know.
I think I met him at the convention.
Yeah, like, are we supposed to know each other?
Yeah,
Because,
like, when somebody says they're gay, it's like,
yeah.
oh, I have a nephew who's gay. Well,
And
then
he
I don't need
lives-
to talk to you. You pretty
Do
much
you
know
not
everything.
know him? Do you not know him? Should you not know him and know?
Well, you can get
everything
married
about him?
now. That's great. I mean,
Yeah.
it's done. Match.
Exactly. And
Hashtag
that's what
Yenta.
I feel like it's the same thing when people say, well, my father or my uncle or I know somebody that's on the spectrum. And of course, you know, the typical one of, well, you don't look like you're autistic. You know, that definitely you shouldn't say that, and just be more accepting. I need some more.
And believe people.
This is
Just
cracking.
believe people. What benefit do any of us get from saying the truth over and over? And like, what benefit do we like? We're not lying. What benefits are we earning? What are we getting?
Yeah.
I'm not making friends. That's for sure.
Conversation with
How to lose
with
friends.
nobody.
What would the
And
book be
We're
titled?
talking about people like us, most specifically, like me and Brandon. It's like we're doing stuff. Where you're a lawyer. How can you possibly be autistic? And automatically it goes to you're misdiagnosed. That cannot possibly be it because you're too smart. You can live on your own. You can pay your own bills. Nothing is wrong with you. You're faking it.
Mhm.
And this was I told Peggy. I said, if you want to fake it, if you want sympathy, tell people you have cancer. Even make up just about any mental illness. If you say you have autism, you picked the wrong thing. Because there's not one person who's going to be sympathetic to that.
Pick a
When you're
Rorschach
a
test
kid,
that no
they'll
one
be-
understands.
If you're a
Basically.
kid, fine.
If you're a child,
Yeah.
you're sent
Over
you're-
25, forget it. You're not getting sympathy
Once-
from anybody.
Once you hit adulthood, you should learn how to get over your autism and just get over it, and everything
Nobody
should be
wants to hear about it.
fine.
And listen, I like being autistic, but there are plenty of times I'd like to not be like in meltdown territory because I feel like my
Mhm.
skin is melting off when it's hot outside and I can't regulate my temperature.
Mhm.
Like, listen, it's not all a pleasure cruise, but there's what do we get from like we don't get any benefits from lying. We don't. And we're not asking for things, really. We're just basically asking for respect, which I think is expected. I think all of us expect that we should show that to other people as well, and not hurt other people. Like in terms of like our relationships with people.
I ask for nothing from work other than just respect the thing that I need to do. I mean, I had never asked for any kind
And that
of
you'll get it done because you
accommodation or
really will
whatever.
do it.
Yeah, just realize I have to do things my own way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you can't give me that.
You're not a bad employee because you started with the roof and then constructed the building, right? You might not have seen it coming. That doesn't make you a bad employee. You're still going to build a house.
Yeah. And if there's something that you shouldn't say to an autistic person, which I hate when people say this, is unteachable. That is not true at all.
Yeah.
Well,
They
for
assume
example, like I said, like I didn't understand inferencing at first, but I was able to practice it and understand it. In fact, I actually worked with a group of autistic students before. I'm doing this like summer program thing at a middle school where it's more like of a summer camp thing at school, where I'm helping students who are diagnosed with autism, and I was able to teach them about what characters are, and I was able to do that by asking them like questions that are based on their interests, like who's your favorite fictional character or who's your favorite non-fictional character, and I was able to teach them about characters by doing that.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyone can be teachable. It's just you have to find. It's just some people just can learn things in different ways, which is why I talked to Brandon about. That's why you need to make differentiated instruction. Sorry, I say that wrong.
No, you're
fine. You're perfectly fine.
differentiating. Like you have to differentiate between your students. Not everybody's going to be like. I mean, in law school I had to do a statistic. We had a standard deviation for it's how employment discrimination is done. And my professor, who I really liked, Professor Bob Bastress, who I thought was really great, happened to call on me on the day of the standard deviation. And I felt like a standard deviant because I was totally incapable of doing that in front of people. The pressure was just too much, and I had to struggle with numbers anyway. And I had to stand up in front of the group and do it. And, for me, that was just so incredibly painful. I mean, I was begging him to just tell me what numbers to plug into what places. And he was like, well, what do you think? And so I did it like in 3 different ways so I could put all 3 numbers in each one in a different slot. And I was like, which one's right? Because we all just learn differently. And not all of us are great at one thing, but we can learn how to do it. Just be nice to us.
Another way.
Yeah.
Well, hi Hillary, thank you for joining. But I think we're going to wrap up this evening.
And do the Q&A.
Well, yeah, we haven't had any questions come in. We have a lot of people joining us right now, but no
Nobody's asking any
questions.
questions.
So
Okay.
here's the thing. I want to say thank you to the West Virginia Autism Training Center leadership for allowing us to gather and do this, and for having the faith and trust in us to do it. Thank you to Jimmy Jarrell, for running our tech today. Awesome job.
That's a comic book name.
Jimmy Jarrell.
Jimmy
That's a
Jarrell,
great
live and on the scene.
And
Thank you.
thank you to the Facebook viewers. We'll try to do more of these in the future, but most of all, thank you to you all for your time and your input. And those of you out in your communities, give space and time for those with autism in your communities to share their stories.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
Thank you for
good night,
having us.
y'all. Thank you.
Good night. Bye.